few of us. We may be a small group, but we're mighty. We have Sam Spieller here today, and he is going to be doing some poetry reading for us. He was kind enough to come read for us at our very first show, Fragile, back in August, and we were very excited to have him back reading some more of his original poetry for us today. So everybody, thank you. Everybody give a round of applause for Sam.
So, as a little introduction for here and now, I figured out that a lot of my writing tends to focus on fears and anxieties, and I saw that tab straight in the back. I get a little nervous every day, and I definitely feel that. But instead of looking at new fears and anxieties, which are plentiful enough, I thought I'd revisit some things I used to be afraid of and figure out if they still hold true. The answer's a little sad, but... So I have 2 poems here. First one, good times for people to say they are getting a divorce. For example, when Maine still buzzes and the loons hide from the kayaks during the day. Ken finds the gear jar, puts it in the bag to bleach later. And James, tired, not trusting the lake, turns back early. He grew up in the city. When Crystal and James say they're going to swim at night, and Kent looks up, and outside it's windy, he laughs and goes back to his book. Crystal comes in wailing, arms out everywhere. Kent thinks it's a joke. She says James is drowning and grabs a life jacket. Outside the dock, pitching, falling, while James on his stomach retches the water he swallowed back into the lake. Kent just standing, stripped down to his boxer briefs, heaving, slips James back into the black, carries his dead weight to shore, to blankets, to bathroom. Sleeping 2 hours before just shuffling into the kitchen for a game of carrom with everybody later. When the pines, the fire pit, the bluegill, the screen door all tug at the half-empty pale ale in her hand, breathing, listen, but no one is saying anything. This one is called Disappearing Act. The downstairs guest bedroom is hungry. At first we tried furnishing it. When we first moved in, we hung French wine posters on the walls, sat a rocking chair by the window, installed a clean bed to dominate the floor. The next day, the room was empty. We looked at each other puzzled. We put some empty bottles where the bed should have been and closed the door. An hour later, after a couple of reruns of a sitcom, the bottles were missing, and the carpet showed no evidence that they had been there at all. We locked the door. A week passed. The bedroom groaned and rumbled with discontent. We piled our trash and mismatched socks in the center of the room. In a few hours, the room was devoid of everything but the Berber and bare walls. We could put the kids in there, I said. Your parents are coming up next week, she said. We could feed them to the room too. We laughed and looked at the carpet. What then?
Would anybody like to ask any questions about Sam's poetry or writing career experience?
Sure.
How do you go through your thought process in determining the narratives behind your work, in particular the 2 pieces you just read?
Well, the first one was something that happened with me. A friend almost drowned, and that was the closest I've been to potential death all the time. And it kind of struck me, and especially how one person was spurred to action right away, the other 2 of us didn't get it at first, and then acted, and everything turned out fine. And some of us spent the night considering how it could have gone anyway. And that one just felt natural because it was so immediate, I guess. The other one feels like it's part of a long list of domestic worries and fears that I've had over the years. And that's kind of what I was getting at, that I feel like I've grown up a lot in the past few years, and while those fears aren't really immediate, they're still kind of there in the corner of my eye, and so this is kind of trying to revisit that and put some humor on it, but also maybe not look straight at it, maybe can keep it to the side a little bit.
Does performing these help with the fear? Or what does it do for fear?
Writing it probably helps. I don't know about performing specifically, other than to maybe make it sound more ridiculous to myself, so it's has a little less weight to it.
Any other questions for Sam?
Do you find you have to allow a certain amount of time to go through before you're able to process it and put it into poetry, or is it more immediate for you?
Usually it takes more time. The thing that I wanted to write about for today was something that happened almost 10 years ago. I still don't have the words for it. Usually it's a little faster than that, but yeah, the things that hit hardest seem to take a lot longer.
Do you journal these experiences first and then pull later, or do you just go off raw memory?
Now, I'm a terrible writer in recovery. I used to do a lot more writing, now it's really sporadic. I'm trying to get back in that habit of taking notes on things throughout the day. But that, I think, that's one of the biggest things I've lost over the last years, is that journaling, that keeping track of notes and thoughts really helped pave the way to new work. And I'm not really doing that as much anymore, and there's not as much work anymore.
I'm hearing that a lot from my artist friends, that despite thinking, oh, we've got all this time now to sit down and focus on our art, and I know myself as well, you know, oh, if I just have time, I could do this project. There's been a dwindling off. There's a collective anxiety, regardless if people normally feel anxiety or this is a new experience. And, it's been profound to not have productivity that's driving us right now.
Sure. Well, and I mean, I made a point of not writing about current things because I don't know that I have the words for a lot of these things. I don't really feel that my take adds to that, but I understand why people feel dried up and not able to produce, even when they have a lot of time. In some ways, having a lot of time might be worse. I think having a little bit more pressure often helps a lot, at least with me. You kind of have to compartmentalize things and have to find time for things. And now when there's just so much time, I'm somehow busier than I've ever been, and yet I'm not doing a whole lot creatively most of the time, so it's hard to do.
Do you think that sometimes in the creative process, there's intake days and months and years, and then there's output days and years? I mean, I hate to use writer's block, but it seems that it was cyclic like that for me.
One of the ways I think that I'm an unhealthy creator is that I don't pursue that every day. And I think for some people that's fine, and that's always how I've operated, but I don't think that's good for me. I think one of the reasons why that's dropped off is because I'm not in that mindset, and I don't force myself to do that. seeing what other people are doing, the current feeling of things in the art world. And the past couple of years I've been back into that, but the writing itself it's a muscle like anything else, and it atrophies. So it takes a lot longer to get back into it when you haven't been doing it than if you just take a break of a week or a month or something like that.
Through strange times.
Very strange times, yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.